Hi, good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order at, it's called 7:01, because that's what it is. And ask, the city clerk to read the statement of compliance, with the Open Public Meetings Act into the record, or the deputy clerk, sorry.
This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, with the meeting schedule advertised in the January 10th, 2024 edition of the Trenton Times. The meeting agenda was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall and the city's website, and meeting notice was sent to the members on the listserv, the department heads, and the city engineer on Monday, November 5th, 2024. Meeting agenda offers planned action items known at the time of publication and is subject to change. The meeting is being recorded and streamed live using the Zoom meeting platform.
Have a roll call, please.
Councilwoman Kaminsky? Here. Councilman Lloyd?
Here.
Councilman Stegman?
Here.
Council President Lambert? Here. Mayor Noah?
Here. All right, we'll please stand for the pledge of allegiance. We'll remain standing for a moment of silence in the hopes of less division and more understanding. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Stephen. Again, good evening, everyone. We'll move right into the public participation session of the meeting. As we always do, we ask, unless you've got mobility issues, to step up to the podium, state your name, address, and in 3 minutes of uninterrupted time for any comments or questions.
Jeff Tittle, 33 Wilson Street. I've been going through some different legislation and different things and programs that I've been involved with. And, you know, I keep thinking about up on the hill and the high school site and the landfill. And the fact that it's been sitting fallow under one property owner for over 30 years with nothing being done. And I cannot seem to find on the DEP website any filings on the LSRP program for that site. I know he supposedly has one. I saw some from a distance, you could see some drilling, but I don't see any activity. We have 2 sites up there. One is a landfill that wasn't lined, has never been closed properly. It was used as a landfill for a long time. Other is a school that was used as a pit. They had a fire. We have no idea what's going on there. And the reason I'm saying all that is that under the New Jersey Site Remediation Reform Act that I helped write about 30 years ago, the failure to remediate a site and the failure of the property owner to take proactive steps to remediate that site gives the Department of Environmental Protection the right to take that site over. And I think that under the both the Site Remediation Reform Act and under the Spill Act, they have that authority. And under the Spill Act, they can actually charge the property owner cost and triple damages if they clean it up. Under the Site Reform Act, they're allowed to enter into an administrative consent agreement where the property owner puts money in an escrow account and the DEP then uses it. We don't know what's up there, but yet, and this is why I think we should go down that road, is that because the property owner has a contract for sale with Hovnanian, and Hovnanian as an innocent purchaser will not be liable for the cleanup under New Jersey law, unless in the contract, which it doesn't, they take over that liability, which they said they would not do. So my biggest concern is that we could end up getting a project up there on a site that's unremediated, waiting for the property owner to remediate it, and he never will. And meanwhile, since we have no idea what's up there, housing could be built on contaminated sites, because we have no idea how big that landfill is, where the extent of it is, what was dumped there. We also have other issues where there was an apple orchard up there in Ballfield where arsenic was used. You could have arsenic contaminated soil, but we have no idea because there's no testing. And I think that, you know, given the fact that we have the PFAS contamination in the wells in the area, which is probably getting worse, I mean, it may come from that site or may not, but we know we have a landfill that's been there for a long time. Nothing's been done for over 30 years with this owner, and I think it's time for the town to ask the DEP to take charge of that site. Anyway, thank you.
That went quick tonight, sorry for the delay. Dave Bird, 255 Brunswick Avenue, following up on the favorite subject of Conard Hill. I did a little bit of research, in case you don't already know this, but Jeff has talked about the apple orchard up at the old high school. I have been able to communicate with an older resident of the city who remembers going into the apple orchard next door, all right, to the ball field. All right, it was an apple orchard owned by the Bonds. And so there absolutely was, you know, and something we can get documented today, there was an apple orchard there. And I did a little research online, and the approved, you know, insecticide at the time, okay, it was arsenic. All right, so most likely that's up there also. So just I figured I'd do a little research. I won't send a bill, so you're got good information. Thank you very much.
John Ellis, 21 Belvedere Avenue. Last May, I think it was, maybe June, there at a city council meeting, a nonprofit that I'm involved in and have a leadership role in, asked about the potential of renting the cabin at Clausen Farm. We were told that it was going to be sold by the end of the year. The intention was to sell it by the end of the year. And so now here we are, about a year and a half, more than a year and a half later. And I haven't heard anything about that sale. And I'm just kind of wondering where that's at. And if it's not going to happen, what the next plans are for the site, the part that's not going to become open space. And I think I would like, you know, if there are no plans for it, I would like to advocate that it is a really great place to put affordable housing because the city controls it. We can use the existing footprint of the existing structures. There's no, you know, we don't have to change anything about the aesthetics even. And there's a lot of people who would be excited to be involved with that and help. And not just residents, but nonprofits who have expressed interest. So if we truly have an affordable housing crisis, which I believe we do, I think everybody here has acknowledged that. I want to know why there are vacant buildings on that property that our tax money is going to maintain, and yet we're saying we have no place to put people who, you know, need to live somewhere, you know, and so I'd love to hear more about that.
I don't have anything to say about that at the moment. There were some conversations about the log cabin, potentially as a purchase, from someone, and that did not happen. And that's all I have to say about it at the moment.
So how long does it go on before?
We don't have, you know, we don't have back and forth.
We don't
Is there
have-
anyone else in the
Yeah.
room?
Well, I would just add that if we were moving forward with the Affordable Housing Committee, I think that would certainly be a site that we should look at. You know, when we look at being in compliance with our existing obligation, the immediate need that we have is we have to find 5 sites to replace for what we did with the police station. And so, you know, this could be one of those spots to put somewhere. I think that when you go up and look at it, it's not as big as I had originally thought to put some, but could we certainly repurpose that? I think, you know, we got to talk to the professionals and, you know, as you indicated, nonprofits that might be agreeable We also have money in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund that might be able to be used to do some of this too. So that's, I think, all stuff that we should talk about in the Affordable Housing Committee.
Anyone else in the room? Anyone online?
No,
How many people do we have online?
1 second. That was that one. Nobody's online.
Okay. Have a motion to close the public comment period, please.
So,
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Now we took one resolution this evening. It's resolution number 159-2024. The resolution authorizing the city of Lambertville to accept a sub-grant award of the federal fiscal year 2024 emergency management performance grant and emergency management agency assistance. This is a grant that we get every year, and pretty straightforward. We use it for our Office of Emergency Management. Any questions from the council on this? May I have a motion to approve resolution 159-2024. The motion was made by Councilman Stegman, and
Second.
second was made by Councilman Lyde. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Just somewhat of a discussion, really. Just these should be fairly brief discussion points or updates, really. So Councilman Lyda and I are working on putting together a Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. Certainly that will be up and running in January. The current plan is to meet twice a month for at least the first 6 months until we've passed some key deadlines as we move into the 4th round. Just to review for everybody, the committee will be composed of Councilman Lyde, myself, someone from the planning board, someone from the zoning board, our Fort Cocoa attorney, someone from Clark King Hints, our municipal housing liaison, to at least 2 members of the public, and potentially two additional members of the public. So we're still kind of constructing and thinking about how we want this to operate outside of the twice a month. I will note that a couple of things we did put on the city website, a 4th round community information guide today that was drafted and completed and added to the affordable housing webpage. So if anybody has any specific questions going into the 4th round about what our obligations are and kind of what the process is, you'll find some information there.
That was very good to read that today.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I think the language was pretty straightforward. Obviously, if residents have questions, certainly email them to me and I'll get them answered for you. And just, I think it's helpful just to review a little bit the timeline for next year as we go into the 4th round. So by January 31st of 2025, we will be required to adopt a binding resolution stipulating to a 4th round obligation. Any interested party must challenge the obligations by February 28th. Challenges must be resolved by any challenges must be resolved by March 31st. And then by June 30th, 2025, municipal planning or land use board must adopt 4th round housing element and fair share plan and provide to the program within 48 hours of adoption. A couple of other, deadlines here. December 31st, the municipality must address any issues arising out of challenges to its housing element and fair share plan that the program deems valid. And then all implementing ordinances and resolutions must be adopted by March 31st, 2026. So we're going to hit the ground running on this in January. Certainly, Councilman Lyde and I have already had a number of conversations with the city planner and the city co-attorney, and we're starting to compile kind of strategies. And I don't know, is there anything else you wanted to say about that?
I would just point out about the 4th round numbers, with those deadlines that we have, that's if we don't agree with the state's number and their methodology, then we would have to show our own methodology as to why we think that number is different. So,
yeah, I'd like to suggest that we, not necessarily throw that in the committee's hands, but do a subgroup perhaps here. We have to shift around because I do think looking at that number, that there's, this is like new ground and, I think that it's a good time to take a look at whether or not it's adequate or not and some different things that we could do. I know sometimes, we take a conservative approach, but we can take a little bit more, no harm, no foul and an aggressive, approach. And just while I'm talking, so I'll get out of the way, is that, I was, talking to the council who's about to leave over at the Department of Community Affairs and become the governor's chief counsel, but we were talking about the money that's available through their trust fund money. They just gave $10 million to Ocean City and Cape May to do scattered site rental housing. So through, they've been working with their Community Development Corporation, which was the basis nonprofit work. So my suggestion is that, we can go in and with them, but if there's something that we're gonna do right away, and we could pursue that aspect of it, because, it's small site stuff that they're doing. And with this money, and that we kind of get on it right now while we're in this administration to kind of feel out what's available and what's possible. But so, it's a sizable amount of money and for an interesting program, a smaller, scattered site, so.
Well, and I think there are some opportunities we may have here in the city too about maybe, I know, Cindy, our clerk, has done some research on some of the properties where some of their tax, not rebates, but, the period of time that they're required to be, I think it's 50 years, or how many years was it, Cindy?
Well, they range from 30 to 50 years.
Yeah,
And
one
then
of
the
them
pilot
is
program.
sunsetting soon, so that might be an opportunity that we brought up with our affordable housing people too, so.
I think it's good to note that Clark King and Hinson, kind of their own independent kind of process, came up with the exact same number that the DCA did. We're comfortable and we accept that obligation, that number will be, adhering to the to what the DCA says, and you'll not open us up to any kind of lawsuit from an outside party that might challenge that number. So anyway, we encourage everybody to take a look at this. It's I think quite helpful. The only thing that's remaining in my mind, in terms of how the committee will function will be, how it operates. So we're talking about probably 10 people here. My current thinking, I'm certainly more than, I'd love to hear what the council has to say about this or thinks about this, but my current thinking is that we would potentially do this as an online meeting structure, at which potentially the public could attend, using the webinar feature. It would be, one of the questions which is open for discussion is, would we consider public comment during the meetings? Or knowing that we've got professionals at these meetings and trying to run an efficient meeting, if we would rather withhold public comment or questions and have the public sort of write to a designated person on the committee with questions kind of following the meeting. So there are a couple of sort of logistical things that I wanted to begin to consider. We have a little bit more time to think about them. But I think that given we have professionals and volunteers trying to schedule 2 meetings a month, at least for the sort of first 6 months, and doing that in an evening, for example, when our professionals are far away, is kind of impractical. So my guess is that most people are going to be able to meet during the day. And that would probably be, we'll probably settle on some kind of weekday meeting time. So, open to any thoughts that the council has initially. We haven't really had a chance to talk with any of you about that idea or kind of that element of it. So, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there.
I think online makes a lot of sense, especially with scheduling. We want obviously to have the meetings, and so to make it easier like that, I think that certainly makes sense. And with regard to the questions, I think it's good for public to be able to attend and, listen to the meetings. And, however we make sure the questions are answered, that's the important thing. If it's, either during the meeting or if they submit questions in advance, as long as we answer them, I think that's, the important part.
Well, and I would also say that, 1, the meetings will be recorded, and 2, I think that there will be at least 2 or 3 opportunities before some of these key milestones when we can schedule a public meeting, right? Here in the Justice Center with some of the key people involved, and specifically to address any questions or thoughts or concerns that the public have. So we do want you to be very engaged in this process, but I also want to make sure that we're making the best use of our professionals and volunteers. So, I'm committed, I think we're all on this day is committed to public input often and frequently. So we'll be sure to make sure that there are some mechanisms for the public to engage on this process. Is there anything else from the council on this?
I agree. I think it makes sense to do this virtually for all the reasons mentioned. I think it'd be easier to have a more cohesive and focused meeting if it's virtual. People get in a room, they start chit-chatting, you get sidetracked. So I think that's probably a good use of the technology for this format. I also think that if you have people submitting questions, there could be redundant questions, and then you could just kind of answer them all in one place. And you could do that a little bit offline. And just post the responses for people to see.
Yeah, and we'll post them on the website as well,
Mhm.
right? So we can keep kind of a running document of questions that people ask. And detailed minutes of the meeting or. Go ahead.
Yeah, the system allows people to ask questions to a moderator, so to speak, whoever it is, and they can go through the questions and then bring them to the moderator, whoever it is, and bring those questions out after they get enough together. So it's not like someone raising a hand and asking a question. It's like questions. The system is set up, we can do that, where you can type in questions and, so.
Okay. Anything else on this? All right, stay tuned. I am having conversations with members of the community, the board members and public members of the public, and I'll have an update at our next meeting. One thing that I had intended to put on the agenda this evening, and it was going to be on the agenda, and I forgot to put it on the agenda, and then the attorney forgot to write the memo. So 2 strikes there, was we were gonna have a brief conversation about the historic preservation ordinance. So I've already asked Cindy to put that on the meeting agenda for the first meeting in December, and I've already spoken to the attorney. It's moved it to the top of the list, so we'll talk about that next month. And then really just had a few thoughts about the budget. I wanted to, last year, Councilwoman Kaminsky, brought up a good point about having some general conversations about the budget. And again, I didn't really talk to anybody kind of about, any specific questions that you have, but, we can get the ball rolling here. We can talk a little bit more about priorities or goals that each of you have, or questions that each of you have in the December meeting, so that I think we've already put that on the agenda. If we haven't, let's put that on discussion of the budget. So that, we're heading into 2025 with a little bit more understanding of what some of the initial budget questions are going to be, or not questions, but some of the initial factors that are going to impact the budget in 2025. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of those tonight. And if there are any questions from the council, we can certainly address them tonight, and we'll continue to talk about this. So, one of the things that we'll see next year is the state healthcare benefit package is going up 17.5% again. So that's going to be a pretty steep increase in costs. Minimum wage, which only affects a couple of people here, is not finally, but it's going to $15.49. And, we're beginning to see some of our retirements, and this coming year, we have an anticipated retirement in the police force that's going to bring in, it's going to cost an additional $52,000 in comp and accumulated leave absence time. And we've talked about this every year of my mayorship. These accumulated leaves amounts are significant in the police department, and we've been trying to budget a little bit every year at $30,000 to sort of put some money aside, because I don't remember what the total number is, but we'll talk about it. But I can get that for you next time, but it's a significant number. And, you know, $55,000 impact, you know, in our operating budget is a significant number. So we'll continue to talk about that. That's you know, these kinds of things do have an impact on the budget. Just a couple of other things that I wanted to mention. This coming year, we will have a separate line item and department in the line item in the budget for stormwater management. So we're gonna pull that into its own department, so we know exactly how much we're spending every year in stormwater management and infrastructure. So this will include salaries and training and any infrastructure that we have. We'll do a recap of what we spent in 2024, early in 2025. As probably most of you know, we bonded a considerable amount of money this year for stormwater management, the tier MS4 tier A, everything from the $300,000 for the street sweeper to $100,000 for cleaning up the Healy Creek to $130,000, I forget, is it $130,000 for the video camera? I don't remember.
It's gonna be in that range. We haven't purchased it yet. It's about 137 was one of the quotes.
Okay, so, you know, as we all talk about stormwater, I want to make sure that everybody understands what it's going to be costing us. When we talk about capital next year, I'm hoping that the next year, my goal is to spend less in capital next year than we have in the last couple of years. We only have one small road project next year that's lined up. We will have some capital projects, and we talk about those kind of early in the year. We will by 2027 have to retrofit all of our storm inlets, grates and curb structures. There will be some upgrades as well. So we'll be talking about these things as the year rolls on. And that's really, I just kind of wanted to get the conversation started a little bit about the budget. Does anybody have any questions, or I may not be able to answer them, but thoughts about priorities next year or,
Well, I think it would be helpful when we get further into it that we take a good look at what is contractually going on.
yes.
And then see what's left before we start. Before we start making plans that we can't keep because the funds are too tight, so.
Yeah, I mean, we know we'll have increases in salary and police department, those are all contractual. At the end of 2025, we will be renegotiating the next contract with the PBA and so that will happen kind of later in the year. So this year we'll have, you know, a labor attorney, and I mean, there'll be some additional things that kind of come up. Certainly having you know, the COA attorney and Clark Aiken Hints sort of attending meetings every other week is gonna kind of add to the bottom line of those expenses. So unfortunately, things never get less expensive, but we'll do our best to keep an eye on all of the lines. And I would encourage everybody who is interested in the budget to either attend or listen to the budget hearings that are taking place next Thursday here from 9 a.m. until they finish kind of in the afternoon. You can understand really from the department heads exactly what each of those departments needs to run its operational budget and what their capital requests are. So I encourage everybody to take a listen to that.
I think the other thing too, even though stuff is gonna cost more money, hopefully with the cannabis revenue we're gonna be getting with the new place that's gonna be opened up, I mean, that could double the amount of tax benefits we're getting from that revenue, so once they open.
Yeah, let's hope it doubles. That'd be great. Yeah, so and we're gonna add, I think we found Lieutenant Brown and his wonderful sleuth thing has found, I think, 5 new places for meters. So you laugh, but that's an extra $8,000-9,000.
I'm laughing with joy.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing that it's because it's stupid.
Yeah, no, we've been talking about it for a while, and he was good enough to really just send me the list today. So little things can add up to big things, and I appreciate that work. And you know, we'll, every last dollar we can bring in, we will.
And to that end, I think we should double look at how we maintain the meters we currently have. Because I don't use, Park Mobile when I come into town, because it's not that frequent that I park at a meter, but you come up to me, you can't even see them. You can't even look through the lens.
Yeah.
You don't know if they failed.
Well, I'm not sure if I've talked to Michael Drulis, budget consultant about this a little bit. We started talking about it back in 2022 and for a variety of what seemed to me all along sensible reasons. We haven't really taken a hard look at what it would be to make a shift either away from meters or into a different way of kind of running our parking program. So, that's something I'm open to hearing about from the council. Michael's got some good ideas about it. And I do think it's about time that we look at how we, whether we continue with meters. People are definitely moving away from coins. You look at the percentage every month of kind of what we take in coins. And it's certainly less than the Park Mobile. And it's also a hassle, right? For somebody to go around and collect all those coins and then put them in the machines and then take them to the bank and everything else. So I do want to look at it. I think it's be the next year or so something worthwhile to take up.
I mean, like going to like a kiosk, like those folks that the Flowbirds that
Yeah.
some folks,
Yeah.
go to
Yeah.
now. Like,
I think Park Mobile,
New Hope, they use
Park
that.
Mobile has
They
a
do.
kiosk system too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the Flowbirds is one in Trenton.
And
Flowbirds
good.
are in a New Hope, but whatever, there's a bunch of them out there, but yeah, it's like the kiosk versus the meter right there.
Yeah.
So everybody's got their.
I think most people have their phone and they just go.
Yeah, I'm like a Park Mobile, like regular, I should have my own
So-
line item.
And I mean, as part of a larger conversation about parking, New Hope has zones, right? So if you park right in the central business district, you pay more. And the further,
Yeah.
so,
Convenience park.
yeah, convenience parking, right? So these are all things that I think would have value in terms of discussion and as goals.
Yeah,
And-
yeah, very true.
Okay, anything else on the budget for now? Okay. We are winding down the year. Everybody's pretty much stopped spending money, which is good. We'll be doing budget transfers, right, Sue? Are you already doing budget transfers? Not
I
yet.
believe it'll be on the next agenda.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we have to approve those. I forgot. So, so be looking for the transfers and, it's a lot of work to close out the budget and it's a lot of, but it's good. I like this. I'm in the cycle now. So, all right, that's all I have on the budget, unless anybody else does anything. A few announcements, Veterans Day, November 11th, city offices will be closed, the street sweeper will not run. The annual event, the Legion is held at, I thought it would be there 11, I think it starts at 11.
11.
Oh, that's right, yes. So I hope everybody will attend. Our budget hearings on November 14th already noted. The Resilience Action Plan Workshop here, it is here November 14th at 7 p.m. I encourage everybody to come. I've had a lot of RSVPs for that, but the more the merrier, and it's important work. Lester Myers, I've got some great news, has been selected as the American Public Works Association Public Works Leader of the Year.
Cool.
So yes, Lester and I will be going to a wonderful luncheon on December 4th, and
He gets to ride the sweeper.
when we talked about riding the sweeper in the garbage truck, if we took the garbage truck, we would have to wear tuxedos.
Yeah.
I suggested we go on a limo, and Cindy's like, no, take the garbage truck, but the sweeper would be good too.
Question about this. Yes, I can see it. Maybe around the holidays with Santa and since we do have them in sweeper, right? Or
Yeah.
is it? It's-
Yeah,
Yeah, and living up on the hill, I don't see it as much as I would like to. And I was just wondering if we could relook at that on a permanent rather than a temporary basis.
yes,
Because there are a lot of storm drains, and that's where if the drains aren't swept and, by a resident, which is
Yeah.
something that I think we all do when we're up on the hill these evenings, is that it, just to get the water into the drainage system, I think we have to talk about maintaining the.
I absolutely agree. So a couple of thoughts on the street sweeper. So it turns out that I love having two street sweepers, and they love it as well. And it's been very helpful. The sheer volume of leaves makes it hard even for a new street sweeper to get them all in one pass. So it's been a nice couple of weeks because Paul runs the sweeper and Lester follows with the other sweeper, and we're really being very efficient in terms of how quickly we're able to get the streets clean from this tremendous volume of leaves. So, you know, I'm not sure we originally thought we were gonna sell the sweeper, maybe we will, I don't know, I haven't.
Oh, the
Yeah,
spare one.
yeah, it's still in decent condition, and we've kept it up. You know, my concern was that we were gonna end up having to wait 2 years for one,
Hmm.
you know, and I felt like it was a lesson learned with the trash truck. And, you know, COVID and all of that. So, yes, I do think so. One of the things that I'm gonna advocate next year is, in one of the public works positions to be, the street sweeper is part of the MS4 TRA requirements, right? So that's 20 hours a week. I'm going to ask for a dedicated 16-hour-a-week position for stormwater management. In the Department of Public Works, someone can easily spend 16 hours a week, either checking drains or writing reports or doing sweeper work. And I do think that I would absolutely consider expanding the sweeper program to the hills. You know, now that we have the boom mower, we can get up there and, you know, trim the vegetation, which makes a big difference with the storm drains on Connaught Hill and all the way up on South Franklin Street and Music Mountain. So, yeah, I think that we should talk about that, and what that looks like.
It would be, I think, helpful to Councilman Stegman's point. On Sutterford Street right now, the new storm drain, the cutout one that was put, is completely blocked.
I know, I saw that, Lieutenant. Did I send you a picture of that?
No.
I meant to.
And I was like, I gotta talk to the mayor about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that
If next
That
to
one,
Old
Yeah,
Neighbor.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's take this offline, because,
Okay.
I'll probably say something I'll regret.
we'll fix it.
okay.
We'll have to fix
Bringing
it.
it to your
Thank you.
attention.
I actually have a photograph of it in my phone because I
Oh.
went up there and, yeah, never mind.
Yes,
Okay.
I do know about it.
All right.
So, and one of the other things that we're gonna do, among the kind of the resilience things that we're looking at doing next year is, an adopt a storm drain program. So, talked to the environmental commission about that. They're willing to take it on. We've been to a couple of webinars about what an adopt a storm drain program looks like. So we're gonna give that a go next year, right? So, and we're gonna try and engage the school, just had conversations with the teacher up at the South who oversees the environmental club. So there may be all kinds of things. And, you know, these are not necessarily things that are gonna be, you know, monumentally improve our effectiveness in managing stormwater, but, you know, they're educational, they raise awareness, they give people ownership, right? So, so there are a couple of things that we'll do.
Well, that's a good idea. I mean, I know you've been around cleaning them up, and I took on a couple during earlier in the year. But there's a lot of stuff out there.
I know,
There's a lot
Right.
to get it. So that's why I brought it up once
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
And, you know, maybe, did we at one time have a vacuum truck, a vacuum?
We did.
That's years ago. right?
Many years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were young.
No comment, but I guess.
It was a long time ago.
Right, the big bag.
Yeah.
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 Well, think about it.
It's in the museum now.
No, it's actually buried under the brush at the yard.
No, are they, I don't think people use them anymore, I mean,
I think, doesn't Hopewell still use theirs?
right? I mean,
It wasn't very efficient.
No,
Wow.
No, you
No.
couldn't use it in town and then it constantly plugged and, yeah.
well, none of it's efficient. I mean, we all love the trees until I walk out in the mornings and see 400 brown paper bags around town, packed with leaves. But we'll do what we can. Sisyphean task. as they say. Yeah, exactly. All right, convenience center hours are noted here in the agenda, November 16th from 9 to noon, November 20th from 3 to 5, Saturday, December 7th and 21st from 9 to noon, and Wednesday, December 18th from 3 to 5. Second public comment period. Same rules as before, same policies. If anybody would like to speak, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address. minutes. And,
We have two people online and they don't have their hands raised, so we're good.
all right, then I'll ask for motion to close the public comment period.
So, second,
All in favor, please say aye.
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 I'd like to thank everybody for coming this evening, and, on that note, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned at 7:42. Thank you. Goodbye. I didn't get through a glass of water.
North Carolina. I was North Carolina.
This year falls on our.
I know. Are they being set?
And we were encouraged that they had a good.
Okay.
I hope you like your straw.
Yeah.
Because it's Sunday night.
I mean, no, I was not happy. And like I say, the police officer. I thank them also. Because now you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
That's the first one, it's like, yeah.